In the empty darkness of space, a small human mining ship floated silently. Inside, Captain Yunji Park sat alone at the control panel. Her face looked tired in the dim emergency lights. Just hours ago, the main engine had exploded, leaving her stranded far from any human outpost. "This is Captain Park of mining vessel Aurora requesting assistance." She spoke calmly into the communication system. "Engine failure at coordinates 227 to 89,455. Life support stable. Supplies for 3 weeks. Any vessels in range, please respond." She pressed the broadcast button. The message shot out in all directions, traveling at light speed into the void. To her, it was just standard procedure, the same kind of distress call humans had used for centuries. Nothing special. After setting the message to repeat automatically, Yunji powered down everything except essential systems. She needed to save energy. The backup generator would keep her alive. But not much else. She checked her small living quarters. Food packages were stacked in storage. Water recyclers hummed quietly. She had enough to survive until help arrived. "Could be worse," she muttered, making herself a cup of instant coffee from her emergency rations. The hot liquid warmed her hands as she wrapped herself in a thermal blanket. Just need to wait it out. Unknown to Yunji, her simple message was causing chaos across the galaxy. Far away, on the ringed planet of the Thoraxian Empire, a communication officer's 6 eyes widened in alarm. The alien's blue scales flashed nervously as it rushed the intercepted signal to its superiors. "A human distress call," the officer reported, "coming from Sector 227 to 89,455. The High Commander, a massive Thoraxian with battle scars across its armored chest, stood up immediately. Humans never request help unless facing total extinction. Their bodies are too fragile to survive even minor space incidents." The commander turned to the War Council. "We must respond with maximum force. Alert the battle fleet." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. To the Quillari, insect-like beings who could survive in almost any environment, the calm human distress call seemed terrifying. Their ambassador Dury called an emergency meeting. "The human sounds too calm." Dury clicked to the assembled council. "They must be hiding the true danger. Perhaps a new weapon or cosmic threat we haven't detected." The Vrel Collective, beings of pure energy who shared a single consciousness across thousands of bodies, analyzed the signal pattern. Humans only broadcast on all frequencies when facing complete annihilation. They concluded incorrectly. "We must investigate." None of these species truly understood humans. In their evolutionary histories, each alien race had developed incredible survival adaptations. The Thoraxians could survive in space without suits for days. The Quillari had backup organs and could regrow limbs. The Vrel could transfer their consciousness to new bodies if killed. Because of this, they only called for help when facing truly apocalyptic dangers, threats to their entire species. They naturally assumed humans worked the same way. What they didn't grasp was that humans, despite being physically weaker, had evolved a different survival strategy: cooperation and preparation. Humans didn't wait until the last minute to ask for help. They planned ahead, communicated early, and solved problems before they became disasters. As Yunji slept fitfully in her survival suit, the largest rescue operation in galactic history was forming. Battle cruisers changed course. Medical ships prepared for mass casualties. Scientists were pulled from research stations to assist with whatever unknown horror had caused a human to send a distress call. On the Galactic Council station, representatives from 27 species gathered in emergency session. The ancient meeting chamber, usually only filled during times of war, was packed. "We must coordinate our response," announced the eldest council member. "Whatever threatens the human might threaten us all." Maps of the sector appeared on massive screens. Fleet movements were calculated. Weapon systems were brought online. "The human signal originated here," said the tactical officer, highlighting a tiny spot in the vast map. "Initial scans show no obvious threats. No radiation surges, no black holes, no signs of hostile ships. That's what makes it so concerning, responded the High Commander. If we could see the danger, it would be less frightening. Back on the mining vessel, Yunji woke up from her nap. She checked her systems and sighed at the lack of response to her signal. Her location was pretty far from normal shipping lanes. It might be days before another human vessel picked up her call. She flipped through the repair manual on her tablet, wondering if she could fix anything herself. The engine damage was too severe. All she could do was wait. Day 1 of being stranded, she said to herself, making notes in the ship's log. All systems stable. No response to distress call yet. She had no idea that across the galaxy, thousands of alien vessels were racing toward her position. Weapons ready, medical bays prepared, scientists standing by, all because of her routine distress call. The first ship to reach her would be the Thoraxian battlecruiser Steel Fang, commanded by Admiral Tahoe himself. The massive warship cut through space at maximum speed, its crew ready for anything, except what they would actually find. One calm human drinking coffee and reading repair manuals. As Yunji heated another ration pack for dinner, she noticed a small blip on her radar. Something was approaching fast, much faster than any human rescue ship. She frowned, checking the readings again. That's strange, she said, putting down her coffee. That's not a human ship signature. Little did she know that her ordinary day was about to become very extraordinary, and her simple distress call was about to change galactic emergency protocols forever. Admiral Tahoe stood on the bridge of the Thoraxian battlecruiser Steel Fang, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of the command consoles. His ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a flash, weapons systems fully charged. Scan for threats, he ordered, his voice deep and serious. The crew worked quickly, their clawed fingers moving across control panels. The main screen showed only a small human mining vessel floating silently against the backdrop of distant stars. No other ships detected, reported the sensor officer. No unusual energy readings, no radiation, just the human vessel. Admiral Tahoe frowned. This made no sense. The human had sent a distress signal that had mobilized half the galaxy's emergency forces, yet there was no visible danger. It must be something we cannot detect, he concluded. Prepare a boarding team. Full combat gear. Be ready for anything. Meanwhile, on her ship, Yunji Park watched with growing confusion as the massive alien warship appeared near her position. She recognized it as Thoraxian from her Space Academy training. But why would such an important military vessel respond to her routine distress call? This is Captain Yunji Park of human mining vessel Aurora, she transmitted. Thank you for responding to my distress signal. My engine has failed, and I require assistance returning to the nearest station. On the Thoraxian ship, the communication officer played the message for Admiral Tahoe. She sounds calm, one officer noted with surprise. A trap, perhaps, suggested another. Or she doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. Admiral Tahoe nodded grimly. Humans are known for their unusual courage in the face of death. Proceed with boarding. The first alien Yunji ever met in person was a 7-foot-tall Thoraxian soldier in full battle armor who broke through her airlock with weapons drawn. 5 more followed, scanning every corner of her small ship with advanced threat detectors. Where is it? Demanded the lead soldier. Where is the extinction-level threat? Yunji stood frozen by her small kitchen unit, coffee mug still in hand. What? There's no threat. My engine broke down. The Thoraxians looked at each other in confusion. Their threat detectors showed nothing dangerous. The human appeared healthy. The ship's atmosphere was normal. Then why did you send a distress signal? Asked the lead soldier, lowering his weapon slightly. Because my engine broke down, Yunji repeated slowly. I need a tow to the nearest repair station. The confusion deepened when 3 more alien ships arrived within the hour. A Kulari science vessel approached next, its insect-like crew buzzing with nervous energy. Their ambassador Duri requested permission to board. "We detected no immediate danger," reported Admiral Tahoe to the Quillary. "The human claims she only needs engine repairs." "Impossible," clicked Dury, compound eyes blinking rapidly. "Our records show humans never request assistance unless facing imminent death." When Dury met Yunji face to face, the Quillary ambassador seemed almost disappointed to find the human calmly explaining her situation. "You mean to say," Dury's translator device conveyed with a mechanical voice, "that you broadcast an emergency signal across all frequencies merely because your ship cannot move?" "Yes," said Yunji. "That's standard human procedure. When a ship is disabled, we send a distress call immediately." By the time the Vrel collective arrived, Yunji's small ship was crowded with confused alien visitors. A glowing, translucent form floated through her cabin, the physical manifestation of the Vrel consciousness. "We do not understand." The Vrel communicated directly to everyone's minds. "Our historical records indicate humans only signal when death is certain." An emergency conference formed in Yunji's cramped dining area. Admiral Tahoe, Ambassador Dury, and the Vrel representative all tried to understand how they had so fundamentally misunderstood human protocols. "In Thoraxian culture," explained Admiral Tahoe, "we would only signal for help if we were minutes from death. Our bodies can survive most space accidents. Quillary would signal only if all our redundant systems had failed," added Dury. "We can survive with just 30% of our organs functioning. And Vrel simply transfer consciousness to another body if one is damaged," the glowing form stated. "We signal only for threats to our entire collective." Imji finally understood the misunderstanding. She pulled up the official Galactic Council xenobiological classification for humans on her tablet. "Look," she said, pointing to the entry. "We're classified as resilient but fragile." "That's not wrong, but it's incomplete. Yes, we need the right air, temperature, and protection from radiation. But that's exactly why we call for help early." She stood up, looking at each alien visitor. "Humans learned long ago that survival isn't just about being physically tough. It's about planning ahead, working together, and asking for help before things get desperate." The aliens exchanged glances as this new perspective settled in. Their own evolutionary paths had given them physical adaptations for survival. Humans had developed social and psychological ones instead. "So your distress call wasn't indicating extinction-level danger," said Admiral Tahoe slowly, "but preventing a situation from becoming dangerous in the first place." "Exactly," Yunji nodded. "We don't wait until we're dying to ask for help. That would be inefficient." "Fascinating." The Vrel form pulsed brightly, a completely different approach to survival. Meanwhile, outside Yunji's small ship, more alien vessels continued to arrive. The largest rescue fleet in galactic history was assembling, all because of a fundamental misunderstanding about how humans approached problems. Unje looked out her viewport at the gathering armada with a mix of embarrassment and awe. "I think," she said quietly, "we need to update that xenobiological classification as soon as possible." The stars looked like bright streaks as ships rushed through space. All across the galaxy, captains changed their course. Big warships with powerful weapons, medical ships full of doctors and medicine, science vessels with the smartest researchers, all of them heading to one place. "Status report," demanded the captain of the Quillary medical ship Life Giver. The vessel's insect-like crew moved quickly around the bridge. "We've diverted all power to engines," replied the first officer. "Estimated arrival at the human distress signal. 3 hours." "Faster," ordered the captain. The human might not have 3 hours. Similar scenes played out on hundreds of ships. The Vrel collective sent 3 of their consciousness vessels. The Mechtan Empire dispatched their most advanced research ship. Even the normally neutral Jaxar sent a rescue team. In the command center of the Galactic Alliance station, a massive holographic map showed the movement of ships. Colored dots representing different species all converged toward one small blinking point, Yunji Park's mining vessel. "I've never seen anything like this," said the station controller. Every major species is sending help. The station's commander looked worried. What could be so terrible that it requires this kind of response? Back on her small mining ship, Yunji had no idea about the massive rescue operation forming. She had organized her tools and was attempting to access the damaged engine compartment. Maybe she could fix something while waiting for help. These old mining vessels are built tough, she muttered to herself. There must be something I can repair. She was deep in the engine room when she heard the sound of her airlock being forced open. Climbing back to the main cabin, she barely had time to grab her coffee before armored figures burst through the door. The Thoraxian boarding team filled her small living space. Their blue scales gleamed under her ship's lights. Their weapons glowed with heat energy, ready to fire at any threat. Their breathing apparatus made hissing sounds as they scanned the room with multi-spectrum visors. For a moment, nobody moved. The 6 heavily armed Thoraxian soldiers stared at the single human woman in her standard mining uniform, holding a steaming cup of coffee. "Oh," Yunji said, blinking in surprise. "That was quick. I wasn't expecting anyone for at least another day." The lead Thoraxian soldier lowered his weapon slightly. His translator device clicked as he processed her casual greeting. "Where is the threat?" he demanded, voice deep and urgent. "What is causing your emergency?" Yunji looked confused. "My engine exploded. I'm stranded." She pointed to her coffee. "Would you like some?" "I just made a fresh pot." The soldiers looked at each other. Their training had prepared them for deadly radiation, hostile aliens, cosmic anomalies, not coffee offers. "Admiral Tejo requests your presence," the lead soldier finally said. "Please come with us." Yunji grabbed her tablet and followed them through the airlock tunnel that now connected her small ship to the massive Thoraxian battlecruiser. She had studied alien species at the mining academy, but seeing the inside of a Thoraxian warship in person was overwhelming. The ceiling towered above her. Everything was built for beings much larger than humans. The walls were covered with weapons and battle trophies. Thoraxian crew members stopped to stare as she passed, many seeing a real human for the first time. In the main command center, Admiral Tejo waited. The admiral was huge even for a Thoraxian, with dark blue scales and ceremonial markings showing his high rank. "Human Captain Park," his voice rumbled through his translator. "Explain your emergency." Yunji straightened her back, trying to look professional despite feeling very small in the enormous room. "My ship's main engine suffered catastrophic failure during routine mining operations," she explained. "I followed standard human protocol by sending a distress signal and powering down to conserve energy while waiting for rescue." The admiral's features were hard to read, but his next words showed his confusion. This is your emergency." "Yes, sir," Yunji confirmed. "I need a tow to the nearest repair station. My supplies will last 3 weeks, so there's no immediate danger." The command center fell silent. The tactical officer whispered something to the admiral, who made a sound that Yunji's translator didn't catch. Before Admiral Tejo could respond, a communication officer interrupted. "Sir, the Kulari medical vessel has arrived. Their ambassador is requesting permission to board. They're asking about casualties and contamination risks." "There are no casualties," Tejo said flatly. "Tell them." "Sir," another officer called. "The Vrel Collective has arrived. They're scanning the sector for spatial anomalies. They want to know what caused the human distress." "An engine failure caused the distress," Tejo responded, sounding increasingly irritated. "Sir, the Mechtan research vessel is requesting." "Enough." The admiral's roar silenced the room. He turned to Yunji. "Human, your simple distress call has mobilized the largest rescue fleet I have ever seen." Yunji's eyes widened as the admiral gestured to a large tactical display. The screen showed hundreds of ships approaching their position from all directions. "All this for me?" she asked in disbelief. "We believed you were facing extinction," the admiral explained. "In our understanding, humans only signal for help when death is certain." Yunji shook her head. That's not how human distress signals work. We send them whenever we need assistance, not just in life or death situations. Admiral Taiho made a sound that might have been a sigh. I see that now. The question is what to do with all these rescue ships arriving. As they spoke, more vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel nearby. The communication system buzzed with urgent requests for information about the emergency. Perhaps, Yunji suggested carefully, this might be a good opportunity for some interspecies education about emergency protocols. The Admiral looked down at the small human, then back at the growing fleet on his screen. Indeed, he said finally, it seems we have much to learn from each other. The confusion that followed would later become legendary in diplomatic circles. But at that moment, standing on the bridge of an alien warship with her coffee growing cold, Yunji realized her simple distress call had created the opportunity for an unprecedented form of first contact. The large meeting room on Admiral Taiho's ship was never designed for so many different species. Beings of all shapes and sizes crowded around Yunji Park, who sat at the center of attention. Scientists, diplomats, and military leaders from a dozen worlds watched her with intense interest. Dr. Jinho, the chief human xenologist from Earth's diplomatic corps, had just arrived through emergency transport. He looked completely bewildered as he took in the massive gathering of alien dignitaries. Captain Park, he whispered as he took a seat beside her. What exactly is happening here? Half the Galactic Council is in this room. Yunji shrugged. I sent a standard distress call when my engine broke. Apparently, that's not how other species do things. The formal interview began with Ambassador Dury of the Quilleri taking the lead. The insect-like diplomat's compound eyes reflected the room's lights as they focused on Yunji. Let me confirm what you've told us. Dury's translator device clicked. Your ship became disabled. You had 3 weeks of supplies. You were in no immediate danger. That's correct. Yunji nodded. Yet you sent an emergency signal on all frequencies. Dury's antennae twitched. Yes, that's standard human protocol. You weren't in imminent danger of death? Dury asked, compound eyes blinking rapidly. Well, no, Park replied. I had about 3 weeks of supplies in air. The distress signal is standard procedure when a ship becomes disabled. It's just how we operate. A murmur ran through the crowd. Dr. Jinho looked increasingly uncomfortable as he realized the scale of the cultural misunderstanding. The Vrel representative floated forward, its glowing form pulsing with curiosity. In our history, we have only sent 3 distress signals. Each time, our entire species faced extinction. 3 signals. In your entire history? Yunji asked, amazed. Yes, the last was 8,000 years ago. A Mechtan scientist with metallic skin spoke next. Our protocols require at least 60% of crew to be dead or dying before requesting external help. Yunji's eyes widened. That seems inefficient. It is a matter of honor, the Mechtan stated firmly. The room erupted with different species explaining their emergency protocols. The Thoraxians only called for help after exhausting every possible self-rescue option. The Jaxar sent distress signals only when their entire planet faced danger. Every story revealed the same pattern, extreme self-reliance until the very last moment. Dr. Jinho finally stood up, sensing he needed to explain human behavior. If I may, he began. Humans evolved on a planet with numerous dangers, but without the physical adaptations that your species developed. We can't survive in vacuum. We don't have backup organs. We can't transfer our consciousness. He gestured toward Yunji. Instead, we develop different survival strategies. We plan ahead. We communicate early. We work together. Our entire civilization is built on the idea that asking for help before a crisis is better than waiting until it's too late. One of the Quilleri scientists moved forward. So the human distress call isn't a sign of weakness, but a different evolutionary strategy. Fascinating. Exactly, Dr. Jinho confirmed. We don't see asking for help as shameful or as a last resort. We see it as practical. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human authorities were trying to make sense of what was happening. At Earth's Central Space Command, Admiral Lee stared at the urgent message on her screen. Captain Park sent a routine distress call, and now there are how many alien ships at her location? She asked incredulously. Over 300 at last count, Admiral, her aide reported, including 17 flagships from major powers. It appears to be the largest multi-species gathering in recent history. Admiral Lee rubbed her temples, all because of a standard mining vessel distress call. Yes, ma'am. It seems other species only use distress calls for extinction-level events. They interpreted Captain Park's signal as indicating an unprecedented threat. The Admiral sighed. We need to update our diplomatic protocols immediately. Send a representative, someone with xenological experience. Back on the Thoraxian ship, Yunji was now surrounded by scientists taking notes on everything she said. What had begun as confusion had transformed into intense scientific curiosity. So humans actually practice emergency drills? Asked a fascinated Vrel researcher. Yes, regularly, Yunji explained. We plan for problems before they happen. We have backup systems, emergency procedures, training scenarios. And you send help to anyone who asks, without questioning if their need is great enough. A Jaxer diplomat inquired. Of course, Yunji replied. Why would we wait until someone is dying to help them? Dr. Jinho watched with growing amazement as the alien dignitaries treated Yunji's ordinary human practices as revolutionary concepts. What humans took for granted, planning ahead, asking for help early, preventing problems before they became disasters, was completely reshaping how these ancient species viewed emergency response. A Thoraxian medical officer approached Dr. Jinho quietly. Our analysis shows that if we adopted human-style early warning protocols, we could reduce casualties by 78% across all species. And you needed us to show you that? Dr. Jinho asked. The Thoraxians' scales shifted color slightly, their version of embarrassment. Sometimes the most obvious solutions come from the most unexpected sources. As the interviews continued, a new respect for humans began to emerge among the gathered aliens. They had always viewed humans as physically inferior, but technologically advanced. Now they were seeing a different kind of advancement, a psychological and social one. Across the room, Admiral Teo was speaking with his superiors via secure channel. Yes, High Command. It appears to have been a misunderstanding, but I believe it may turn out to be a fortunate one. He looked over at Yunji, still patiently explaining human emergency protocols to the fascinated xenologists. Sometimes, the Admiral told his superiors, we learned the most important lessons from the strangest situations. 6 months after her engine failure in deep space, Yunji Park stood nervously in front of the largest classroom at the Galactic Academy. Students from 27 different species waited for her to speak. Some had scales, some had wings, some glowed, and some didn't even have physical bodies. All wanted to learn from her. I'm just a mining ship captain, she whispered to Dr. Jinho, who stood beside her. I don't know how to teach aliens. Just tell them what you did, he encouraged her. That's all they want to hear. Yunji stepped forward to the speaking platform. The translator device at her throat would convert her words for all the different species. Hello, she began simply. My name is Captain Yunji Park. 6 months ago, my ship broke down. I sent a normal distress call. I didn't know it would change how the galaxy works. The room was completely silent. Even the floating energy beings of the Vrel Collective seemed to pulse more gently to hear her better. In human training, we learn a simple rule. Don't wait for an emergency to become deadly before asking for help. We plan ahead. We prepare for problems. We practice what to do when things go wrong. A young Thoraxian student raised a scaled hand. But isn't it shameful to ask for help when you can still help yourself? Yunji thought about this. No. What would be shameful is letting pride turn a small problem into a deadly one. Across the galaxy, things were changing. On the Kulari homeworld, Emergency response ships now launched at the first sign of trouble, not the last. Their new system, officially named the Park Protocol, had already saved thousands of lives. In the Mechton shipyards, engineers redesigned their vessels with new emergency beacons that included detailed information about the nature and urgency of the problem. The old system, a simple panic signal, was replaced with human-style graduated alerts. Even the proud Thoraxian Defense Force had changed its ways. Their ships now carried special early intervention teams trained to respond to problems before they became disasters. Admiral Tahoe himself had championed the new approach. "We were wrong," he had told the High Command. "Waiting until death is certain before requesting aid isn't bravery, it's foolishness. The humans showed us a better way." In the Galactic Council chambers, the official classification of humans had been updated. The old entry, resilient but fragile, was replaced with preventatively strategic. The Council recognized that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their adaptability, but their approach to problems. Back in the classroom, Yunji continued her lesson. Humans learned long ago that survival isn't just about being tough. It's about working together. It's about sharing information early. It's about helping each other before things get bad. A Vril student pulsed with curiosity. "Is that why your distress calls contain so much detailed information, not just a cry for help?" "Yes," Yunji nodded. "We don't just say, 'Help me.' We say what's wrong, what resources we have, how much time we have, and what kind of help we need. That way, the rescuers come prepared." This concept, tailoring the response to the actual need, had revolutionized galactic emergency systems. The old one-size-fits-all panic response was being replaced with calibrated assistance. On Earth, at the Space Academy, new cadets now study the Park incident. In their first year, the lesson was simple. What seems obvious to humans may be revolutionary to others. "Today's assignment," announced the instructor, "is to identify 3 more human practices that might benefit other species." The cadets typed eagerly on their tablets. One wrote about human weather prediction systems. Another suggested human approaches to preventive medicine. A third thought the human habit of regular safety inspections might be valuable. Meanwhile, far away, Yunji finished her lecture at the Galactic Academy. The room filled with the various sounds of alien applause. Clicks, hums, light flashes, and vibrations. As she stepped away from the platform, a small Quillary child approached her with a translator device. "Because of your new system, my parents survived a mining accident last month," the child's translated voice said. "The help came early, before the air ran out." "Thank you." Yunji knelt down to be at eye level with the child. "I just did what any human would do. I asked for help when I needed it." Later that evening, sitting in her quarters at the academy, Yunji looked out at the stars. Dr. Jinho joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "The Galactic Safety Council wants you to help write the new emergency response guidelines," he told her. "They're calling it the Park Protocol, officially now." Yunji laughed softly. "All this because my engine broke down in the middle of nowhere." "No," Dr. Jinho corrected her. "All this because you showed the galaxy a better way to think about problems." He raised his coffee cup in a small toast. "To human common sense, our most unexpected gift to the stars." Outside the window, a ship launched from the Academy spaceport. On its side, a new symbol gleamed, a simple distress beacon with a human handprint inside it. The symbol of humanity's contribution to a safer universe. Across the galaxy, thousands of ships now carried the same symbol. The story of one human's ordinary distress call had changed everything. The end.